Hello, and welcome to the Sustainability Sessions. I'm Adam Bell, the Delivery Director at sustainability-focused marketing agency, Moment. We're talking to business leaders and sustainability experts about the most pressing problems facing our people and the planet. Now, those problems are wide-ranging, from how we power our cars to how we heat our homes, even to the clothes we wear on our backs. I'm delighted, therefore, today to be speaking to Simon Cotton, the Chief Executive of Johnston of Elgin. Hi, Simon. How you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good. Nice to see you, Adam.
Yeah, you too, and thank you very much again for taking the time to speak to us. I'd love just to start, if it's okay, just to get a little bit of background to you, actually, and what's led you up to what you do today.
Yeah, my original background was in marketing, then product development. I worked in textiles for 11 years before I came to Johnston's in a company called Russell Corporation, where I became responsible for a division or a part of the organization. And then I led at Karen Phoenix for 5 years, looking after the stainless sink business and then the granite sink business. So selling kitchen sinks to going into the high-end luxury textile market was a bit of a change, but I had been in textiles before.
Yeah, brilliant, and that's an interesting shift. So I'd love just to then find out a wee bit more about what it is, what is your role now, and then just a wee bit about the background of the company as well.
Yeah, so I look after both of our mills here. So we've got the weaving mill up here in Elgin, and then down in Hoyk we have our knitting mill. We have a private label business which is very substantial that we supply to the world's top luxury brands. We also have our own brand which represents about a third of our turnover. We've got just under 1,000 people across all the operations, and that includes our retail stores, our e-commerce operations, obviously all the people in the factory, sales offices in Japan, Paris, Germany. So yeah, it's quite a diverse organization. You know, we're not massive in turnover terms. We still like to think of ourselves as a small company, but very diverse and very interesting, you know, to work with. You know, great fun to work with, to be honest with you, because of that diversity. It's a 224-year-old company. We've been based in this location, you know, in the sort of arm of the River Lossy right since we started, and we've woven here right since we started. So 225 years next year, which we'll be looking forward to celebrating.
Yeah, fantastic, and that's an awesome milestone as well. Congratulations. So we're really we're exploring this multifaceted topic of sustainability. So the next bit really would just be to understand a bit more about what sustainability means to you and how that's coming to life at the moment within the business.
Yeah, we've debated this internally for a while, and clearly there was a lot of discussion some years back about, you know, the sort of environmental definition of sustainability and sort of broader definitions which bring in things like how people are treated within the supply chain and wages and lots of other aspects as well. We've now sort of gone, I think with most people, we've gone to a broader definition, and the environmental aspects are still critically important within that, but we've tried to include really a holistic approach to everything that we do in our business. So this means at the moment we have 9 different aspects to what we look at as sustainability, which is everything from the animal welfare, the grassland management within our supply chain. So looking after the herders in Mongolia and the grasslands in Mongolia for the Kashmir goats, but also in Australia, you know, the wool supply chain as well. Chemicals right through our factories, water right through our factory, carbon footprint, labor conditions, you know, every aspect that we consider to be relevant to our business, we try to look at. And that doesn't mean that we're perfect in every aspect. That means that we're striving to bring those to best practice and to be continually improving on those. We're going to add a couple of other elements over the next couple of months, just in the lead up to COP26. We're looking at really launching a range of initiatives designed to empower consumers to make sustainable choices. And I think that's one thing that companies sometimes neglect is that ability to say to consumers, right, we're gonna help you now to do things in a way that we think is a good way, but we're going to give you some choices because we appreciate there's trade-offs here. So, for example, if you are buying one of our products as a gift, it's perfectly reasonable to want to put that in a gift box. But if you're wanting it for yourselves, maybe you don't want that level of packaging and you just want to have a simplified packaging option, and we'll put that as the default. So if you want it as in a gift box, then you would get that. But in either case, it would be fully recycled and recyclable packaging that gives you those options. If you want it express, yeah, you can get it express. But if you order it and you get it in a few more days, then you're going to get it by road, and that's going to have a lower carbon footprint for you. So we want to give people those choices and really make sort of supporting people to be able to make sustainable choices another aspect of what we do. And then we'll also be talking about how we develop our business into alternative materials as well. So that also is coming. So the scope is widening. I mean, we started with it pretty wide, to be honest with you, but we're also trying to say, okay, well, what have we missed? What have we not considered here? You know, everything from, you know, we have beautiful gardens here where we have apples growing on our trees. You know, getting those used in our kitchens makes a lot of sense. You know, it can be little things like that, or it can be big things like, you know, replacing our major pieces of equipment, which cost millions, you know, hundreds of thousands of pounds certainly, and making sure we make the most energy efficient choices then.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to hear how wide-ranging that approach is. I think certainly as we're going deeper into this topic, it does open up so many areas. And I think just having that focus and almost that systematic approach to identifying things, solving problems, that is a real differentiator. I wonder how big a focus you feel this is now getting in the wider industry that you're a part of.
Yeah, I think within certainly luxury textiles, it's getting a huge amount of focus. And I would say it's the main competitive differentiator now. You know, so when you are speaking to a brand that we might manufacture for, or a store that we want to stock our products, it will be within their first conversation, it will be the dominant conversation. And to be honest with you, you know, nobody's necessarily looking for another jumper or another scarf. You know, we've got products available to us that's there, but they are within a B2B side. You know, the other businesses in the supply chain are looking for more sustainable offers, more sustainable stories they can tell, and it's important that you can tell them, but you're also being honest about it, and where there's challenges and where there's things that are not right, that you can say, okay, this is where we've got to today, rather than, you know, it is an awful industry, to be honest with you, for greenwashing. There's a lot of, and the biggest form of greenwashing at the moment is, well, we're doing this, but you ignore 90% of what you're doing, and you just talk about the one good thing. You know, you've launched a product with a recycled fiber in it, and that's your story. Well, that's fine. I think that was okay 5 years ago, but it's not okay for where we are at the moment. I think we need to get a little bit more serious about it now. And that means that, you know, you need to put in a framework that looks at all your business and drives it that way. And we're kind of unique, not unique, but certainly unusual within our business in that we're almost fully vertical. And what that means is the fiber comes in one end of the factory and the finished product comes out the other. And that means that we've got, you know, extreme control over chemicals and water usage and carbon usage and the conditions of the workers and the pay. We're a living wage employer. Now, within the textile industry, typically that's not what you see. You see these big global international supply chains. They're very complex, and it's much more difficult to control things in those conditions. It's not necessarily that companies don't want to, but it's much more challenging.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's really interesting considering the demands through the supply chain, as you mentioned, and also on the consumer side. And is that definitely something that you feel is increasing?
It is increasing. I mean, we saw, I would say, during the lockdown period of the pandemic, we saw a very greatly heightened interest in these topics. And we've seen, I say the last 2 years, I think we flipped from a situation where you would try and do the right thing because you felt it was the right thing. And we've always been a company with, it's a family-owned company. They've got strong values. They're very embedded in the local community. So there's always been a certain way of doing things, but I think now we've got to the stage when you're looking at sustainability initiatives, very often it's not a case of, well, we'll do this because it's the right thing, but it's going to cost us some money. It's going to be, well, we'll do this because it's the right thing, and the market cares, and the market is willing to, I think is becoming increasingly willing to pay for what it costs.
Yes.
And that's a change. That is a change. Now, it's not everywhere in the market. You still have, some of the deepest fast fashion companies who've done extremely well during the pandemic, despite some dodgy practices and all the rest of the stuff, which have been well documented, and they do very well. So there is still a part of the market, unfortunately, that wants to sell disposable fashion, wants to make disposable fashion, and doesn't necessarily care how it's made. Yes. And that is still there. It's still a dirty industry, I would say, in general, but there are parts of it that are certainly improving very, very quickly. And I think there's a lot of seriousness around the topic now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a really interesting perspective. I think certainly what the consumer demand is, what the demand is within the luxury space, or I suppose where things maybe typically have a higher price point. And I think we talk a lot about things being equitable and where people can buy into sustainable practices. Do you think that's a problem that's maybe created by fast fashion, or is there just not yet a solution for a wider market?
When I was at Russell, we made t-shirts and polo shirts and sweatshirts, basic entry-level products, and we made them for school uniforms. And it was not a high margin business with a huge amount of design or luxury embedded in it. But we paid a little bit more for our products, and I would say we probably were 10%, 20% more expensive than the competition. And I still have products that we made in that time that have lasted, and I've been out of that business now for 13 years. And I've got t-shirts that I've handed down to my son because they're still in good nick. And in the meantime, I've bought other products and they've not lasted 5 minutes, and this is a reality that is actually, what we do, that costs money. If you want cashmere and, fine wool and handmade, authentically made in Scotland, that's a different thing. But if you just want a better product, you only have to go up a little bit in price to embed something which, and the first thing we can all do is buy less, buy better, buy product that lasts. That makes a huge difference. Companies like ours are working every day to try and change our carbon footprint. Well, we could probably all buy a third less clothes and buy better. That would change things overnight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really clear action as well, and it definitely takes on that form of doing something meaningful. I think exactly like you say, we feel as marketers a great responsibility to not portray the greenwashing that some companies are doing. I think that's a correct term, and there is still a lot of that going on. the tapping into those key actions is so important. The last real thing from me is for companies who are perhaps earlier in their own sustainability journey. Is there one piece of advice you would give them, or where would you advise them to start?
Start where your impact is. You know, we've tried to look at everything, and as I say, we go down to quite a lot of detail, but generally speaking, you know where your impact is. You know what the big issues are for you, and if you start there, you'll not go far wrong. And be prepared that things will not be straightforward. You know, it's not, none of this is easy stuff. If it was easy stuff, we'd have done it, to be honest with you. We'd have just done it, you know, tomorrow, and everybody would have done it, because there is enough interest. So it's a journey, it's a learning journey. It's tough. There's tough decisions to make all the time. Don't expect it to be easy, but this is business now. You know, the business I learned in business school has changed considerably, and you know, we now have a different set of requirements from the customer, and this is number one.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Start with impact. I think that's a fantastic message. And then just a slight aside, more for interest. How has the last 18 months, I suppose, impacted the business and the sustainability journey within the business?
Yeah, I mean, last year was a pretty brutal year. Obviously, a lot of our retailers that we deal with were closed. You know, we were closed for a long period of time, and yeah, it was a loss-making year. It was a tough year, as it was for many companies, but we got through it in good shape. We went in with a strong balance sheet. We came out in a good cash position still, despite the loss. And this year has been much stronger than we expected. So it's really bouncing back. And like a lot of people, our challenges now are around recruiting good people and keeping them from all the demand of the jobs market today. So some interesting new challenges, but much better challenges than we were facing last year.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much again for taking the time this morning, Simon. I really appreciate that. A fantastic viewpoint and some really clear actions for our audience to take away. Thanks again.
Nice to speak. Take care.
Cheers. Another big thanks to Simon there. Some really great insights into the world of slow fashion, luxury textiles, but more broadly, our fashion and clothing industries. I hope you've been inspired to take some action today in your businesses. If you have, please like this video, and if you'd like to listen to more sustainability sessions as and when they're available, please subscribe to this channel. Thank you.